Do you dream of achieving sourdough French bread with a crackly crust and tender interior, but feel like you have to be a master baker to accomplish it? Hello friends, this is Heather the Fed Up Foodie, and if you're just beginning your sourdough journey, you've come to the right place. This sourdough recipe is easy and very forgiving, making it the perfect place to start. My first tip, there are a few tools that make the job so much easier, such as a large stainless steel bowl, kitchen scale, and French bread pans that you will see shortly. The recipe starts by weighing the flour in the water and then stirring until combined. Cover it and let rest for 45 minutes. This step is known as autolyze, and in a nutshell, doing so enhances the final product with minimal effort. At this stage, the dough will look somewhat shaggy and rough. As each stage progresses, the gluten will become more developed and the dough will become smooth and more elastic. Once the 45 minutes has passed, you will then weigh and add the salt and sourdough starter. One of the top secrets to creating phenomenal homemade sourdough bread really boils down to a healthy and well-fermented starter. Creating your own starter using my easy sourdough starter recipe is very easy and only takes a few ingredients. Additionally, my post, How to Maintain Sourdough Starter, addresses the most common concerns and challenges so that you can have years of sourdough baking ahead. Using a clean hand, mix the starter and salt into the dough until they are relatively well combined. Cover and let rest for 30 minutes. If you're used to making bread with yeast, one of the first things you'll notice is that sourdough bread has a wetter consistency compared to traditional yeasted breads. While this may seem unusual, rest assured it's perfectly normal. After the resting period, gently pinch the edge of the dough and pull and fold into the center of the bowl. Continue around the circumference of the bowl for about 1 minute. Cover and let rest for another 30 minutes. You will repeat this stretch, fold, and resting process for a total of 4 times. This process is what develops the gluten, giving the bread wonderful texture without having to actually knead the dough. Another reason why this recipe is so perfect for the beginning sourdough baker. After the final stretch and fold, cover your bowl and let proof at room temperature for approximately 12 hours. However, during the warmer months and with a really healthy starter, proofing can take as little as 4 hours. You will know the dough is ready when it has doubled in size and bubbles have formed. On the day of baking, preheat your oven for at least 30 minutes before baking the bread. This is vital for optimal oven spring, or in other words, the rapid rise of dough while baking, resulting in bakery quality results. To form the bread, transfer your dough onto a floured surface. Stretch and fold the dough a few times to tighten up the dough, and then divide into equal parts. Form the loaves by first flattening the dough and then fold and roll the dough starting with the top. It's important at this point to not overwork the dough to protect the air pockets that have formed. In other words, forming the dough does not have to be done perfectly, you just want it to be somewhat uniform in size. Additionally, using a French bread pan helps the bread to maintain its shape while also creating a crackly crust. Place the loaves seam side down onto the prepared pan. Cover the loaves with a towel or plastic wrap coated with cooking spray and let rest for 20 to 30 minutes. After resting, make 3 to 4 shallow diagonal cuts along the top of the dough using a small knife or bread lame. Bake for 40 to 45 minutes at 425 degrees or until the loaves achieve a golden brown color. At the end of baking, turn off the oven, but leave the French bread inside with the door slightly ajar. This is an old school technique that helps in creating a crackly crust. For more recipes like this and for weekly inspiration, make sure to head on over to thefedupfoodie.com and sign up for my newsletter where I share recipes and tips in helping to make cooking from scratch approachable.